Well, Americans borrow for nearly everything these days, from credit cards to mortgages to student loans. And at the same time, credit scores are slipping nationwide.
In America, your entire life can be summed up in 3 digits. Not your age, not your income, your credit score. It decides whether you can buy a car, rent an apartment, start a business, or even get a job. It's the invisible gatekeeper of the American dream. A number that follows you everywhere, yet one you never voted for. And the cruelest part, it doesn't measure who you are. It measures how profitable you are to a system built to keep you in debt. This is the story of how one number became America's most powerful currency, and how the system behind it quietly turned millions into financial prisoners. When the idea of credit was born, it was supposed to be liberating. In the early 20th century, America was booming. Cars, appliances, homes, a new middle class was rising. But few had enough cash to pay up front. So banks began offering installment plans. Pay a little now, a little later, and watch your dreams come true. At first, it was trust-based. Local bankers knew your name, your family, your reputation. If you missed a payment, they might give you a chance to catch up. But as the country grew, trust couldn't scale. Human judgment was replaced with data. And in 1956, engineers working for IBM and Fair Isaac Corporation invented something revolutionary, a mathematical formula that could predict risk. They called it FICO. It was efficient, it was objective, and it was about to define every financial decision in America. By the 1980s, credit scores had become standard. Banks no longer needed to meet you. Your score was you. Lenders, landlords, employers, even insurers began using it to decide your fate. A high score meant you were trustworthy. A low score meant you were risky. But what those numbers actually measured wasn't morality, it was obedience. Do you pay on time? Do you borrow consistently? Do you stay in debt, but not too much? Then congratulations, you're a model citizen in the eyes of the credit gods. But fall behind once, and the system never forgets. A single missed payment can tank your score for 7 years. A hospital bill sent to collections. Permanent scar. Even checking your own credit too often can make lenders suspicious. It's a surveillance network disguised as responsibility. And like all surveillance networks, it profits from your mistakes. Each year, Americans pay billions in interest rate markups simply because of their score. The difference between a 760 and a 640 credit score can mean paying $100,000 more for the same house. The same loan, the same bank. The only difference, a number on a screen. That's not meritocracy, that's digital feudalism. Behind the curtain, 3 private companies control it all: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. The big 3. They collect, store, and sell your financial history. Not for your benefit, but for theirs. They own the data that defines your worth. And they didn't ask for your permission to do it. Every credit card swipe, every late payment, every account in your name, they record it, score it, and sell it to lenders. You're not their customer, you're their product. And when they screw up, you pay the price. In 2017, Equifax suffered one of the largest data breaches in US history. Hackers stole the personal information of 147 million Americans. Social security numbers, addresses, birth dates, everything. Half the country had their financial lives exposed. Equifax paid fines. No one went to jail. And your data, still out there. That's the absurdity of the system. The very institutions that judge your trustworthiness can't even protect your trust. Here's what makes it worse. You can't opt out. Even if you never take out a loan, never own a credit card, never borrow a cent, you still have a credit file. Because the system isn't voluntary, it's compulsory capitalism. Try renting an apartment with no score. Try getting utilities connected without a deposit. Try getting a job. Because, yes, some employers check your credit before hiring you. In a country where health insurance, housing, and employment are tied to financial history, the credit score becomes more than a number. It becomes a leash. And like all leashes, it tightens over time. Because the goal of the modern credit industry isn't to free you from debt, it's to keep you inside it. When you pay off loans too quickly, your score can actually drop. When you stop borrowing, your file goes stale. In this system, the only way to prove you're responsible is to stay indebted forever. It's a brilliant paradox. They sell you the dream of financial freedom, but their profits depend on you never achieving it. That's not freedom. That's servitude in a suit and tie. Nowhere is this clearer than in the subprime lending industry, the underworld of credit. If your score is low, mainstream banks shut their doors. But payday lenders, buy here, pay here car dealers, and credit rebuild cards open theirs wide. They promise redemption, but deliver chains. 25% interest, 30% APR, hidden fees. They call it credit access. But it's really poverty monetized, and when you fall behind, debt collectors take over. They call, they threaten, they sue. More than 1 in 8 Americans has had debt sent to collections. Many end up in court, sometimes over debts as small as $500. It's not just financial pressure, it's psychological warfare. But this isn't just a poor people problem. Even the middle class lives under the score's shadow. Want to buy a home? You need a perfect credit mix. Want to refinance your loans? You need a long credit history. Want to start a business? Better have personal credit first. The score doesn't reward wealth. It rewards conformity. You can make $200,000 a year and still be punished for closing an old credit card. It's less a measure of trust and more a reflection of how well you play the game. A game designed by the banks, for the banks, and those banks have engineered the rules to perfection. Your score goes up when you take on debt and pay interest. It goes down when you pay off everything and disengage. That's not financial responsibility. That's dependency conditioning. The system literally needs you to keep borrowing. Like a hamster running on a wheel, it can never step off. And every time you make a payment, you're not just buying products. You're feeding data. Data that becomes more valuable than the interest itself. Behind every transaction is an invisible economy of data brokers. They buy, merge, and analyze your credit information to create predictive models, digital clones that know your habits better than you do. These profiles decide not just if you get a loan, but how much you'll pay. AI now runs credit underwriting. Machine learning models analyze thousands of variables, not just your payment history, but your browser type, your phone model, even your typing speed. A faster typist? Statistically less likely to default. An Android user? Slightly higher risk than iPhone. It sounds absurd, but it's real. Credit scoring has evolved from a math formula into a behavioral surveillance system. And in this new reality, your life isn't judged by who you are. It's judged by what you generate. So how do we escape it? The industry would tell you, just build your score. Get a secured card, pay every month, never close accounts, never miss a payment, stay disciplined. But that advice misses the bigger picture. Because you're not fixing your financial freedom, you're maintaining their system. The real question isn't, how do I improve my score? It's, why does this score exist at all? Credit bureaus say the score is necessary to manage risk, but look at the results. 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency. Student loan debt sits above $1.7 trillion. Household credit card debt just hit $1.3 trillion. If this system were about managing risk, it wouldn't produce this much of it. It's not risk management, it's profit management. Because debt is the product, and the credit score is the advertisement. There's a reason Americans are told that good credit is patriotic. Pay on time, keep borrowing, build your score, buy your dream. But the American dream itself is mortgaged to the banks. Home ownership used to be about stability. Now it's about leverage. Your house isn't freedom, it's collateral. Your education isn't opportunity. It's an investment they expect you to pay interest on for decades. Your healthcare, your car, your phone, all tied to credit. The score doesn't empower you. It quantifies your submission. Every empire has its currency. Rome had gold, Britain had pounds, America has credit. And the people who control it don't need armies. They have algorithms. They don't conquer land, they conquer futures. Every late payment, every closed account, every drop in your score is a reminder of who's really in charge. Not you, not your employer, not even your government, but 3 corporations and a mathematical model built to decide how much your life is worth. Here's the most sinister part. Your score doesn't just affect your finances. It shapes your psychology. People internalize it. They treat it like morality. A high score becomes a badge of discipline, a low score a scarlet letter. We've turned financial metrics into moral ones, debt into identity, obedience into virtue. The credit score has become America's invisible caste system, not enforced by law, but by shame. And like all caste systems, it keeps the powerful safe and the powerless busy, fighting for approval. But the cracks are showing. Younger generations are catching on. They're rejecting credit cards. They're paying with cash, crypto, buy now, pay later, anything that breaks the monopoly. Alternative credit models are emerging, based on income, rent history, or even community trust. Fintech startups are pushing transparency. Some states are moving to regulate reporting errors, which, by the way, affect 1 in 5 Americans. The old system is fighting back. Because if people stop believing in the credit score, its power disappears overnight. Yet, for now, the machine keeps humming. Experian reports record profits. FICO just launched new ultra scores that track even more of your personal behavior. And banks have begun experimenting with predictive credit, analyzing how you might behave in the future. They don't need to ask for your trust anymore. They already own it, quantified, packaged, and sold. So where does that leave you? If your score is high, the system rewards you just enough to keep you invested. If it's low, it punishes you just enough to make you desperate. Either way, you're hooked. It's the perfect trap. The kind that doesn't need bars, just beliefs. Because the real power of the credit system isn't in the number itself. It's in convincing you that the number is you. Maybe it's time to break that spell. Your worth isn't defined by a score. Your potential isn't measured by a formula. And your freedom shouldn't depend on a system designed to monetize your mistakes. The American dream was never supposed to be leased with interest. It was supposed to be earned with effort. But somewhere along the way, we stopped dreaming and started financing. Because in the land of the free, even freedom comes with a payment plan. And the people collecting those payments, they're not patriots, they're accountants. Maybe the real rebellion isn't building perfect credit. Maybe it's building a life that doesn't depend on it. Because in a world where one number controls your destiny, the most radical act you can commit is to stop letting it.